will work into offensive zone play as well, whether that's like communication, small details, feet moving. So all that will apply to today as well. So keep that kind of in the background as we're talking. But we're gonna finish the um, little basics mini series that we did with offensive zone stuff today. So uh, the most popular videos, which makes sense, is always how can I score more goals? That's always the most popular thing that people want to watch. And the problem with that question is there's a lot of different things that happen in the game. There's a lot of different situations. There's a lot of different types of skills you need in different situations to be able to execute and score. So there's not ever one word answers to anything. And like we said in the last two, anything that we talk about from a tactics standpoint or positional standpoint is always just like foundational things, and then you have to be able to make decisions and make plays or do what your coach is asking or and kind of build off of this. But this is all very like one-on-one understanding where you should be and what kind of things you should be thinking about. So we can start offensive zone stuff. Is there anything from like the philosophy or mindset standpoint, kind of like we did with the other two episodes, that you think of as like a primer for offensive zone when you're working on attacking or trying to get to the net or trying to score goals, or where you should be on the ice or anything like that?
Well, I don't know if it's the same type of philosophy because my kind of philosophy, my my thoughts. I don't want to say my philosophy. My thoughts on offense is that not it's not all taught. Like there's certain structure things that are good, but you'll hear a lot of coaches actually not coach offensively because they want to take care of the D zone. They might take care of some neutral zone, and then a lot of coaches say that offensive zone you play. That's your zone. That you'll hear that a lot. I'm not really opposed to that to a certain degree, but then to a certain degree, you want to have, there is still some structure, like when it comes to the forechecks and stuff. But I think when coaches talk about that, it's more when you have the puck on your stick, you guys kind of create your own stuff. Don't worry too much about it. So, but from a philosophy of the offensive zone, I think an underused area of the offensive zone is behind the net. That's one thing I would say. The offensive zone is a place when you're forechecking and stuff like the. It's a great place to take away time and space from people to create turnovers. Obviously, the more you can get on people, the more the quicker you can get on guys and direct guys. You can kind of dictate a lot of the play from the offensive zone, and if it's about scoring goals that we're talking about, then the other philosophy would be that if you're an actual, like, especially the higher levels you go, the more important it is that you get to dirty areas and you do the dirty hard shit. So when you're a youth player, and we've said this in many podcasts before, being a goal scorer at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, even 16 does not necessarily make you a goal scorer because goalies are small. Defenders aren't really defending like I shouldn't say they're not defending, but you're not playing against the highest quality players all the time. You could score from odd angles because you're playing against watered down goalies. So if you have a good shot, even at 14, 15, 16, you have a good shot, sometimes that'll just be enough to get by and get you some goals. You can shoot from the farther out areas when you're young, and it'll appear like you can score some goals. Goalies could be small, like at the real young levels. So if you learn how to lift it early, you're going to get goals. But as the game progresses, the habits that you create when you're young, and even in junior, will either transfer or not transfer if you become a pro, or from midget or U16 to junior to college. The habits are the most important things. So, I was talking to a scout the other day about a player, and they were saying it's not. We don't care how much this player scores. It's how he gets them, and how this player has less, but it's the way he gets them. He said it's always in the dirty areas, working his ass off. He goes, there's not the lucky ones where there's bounces all over. So that's translatable goals, right? So, anyways, that's kind of my philosophy, not a philosophy, but a thought for the offensive zone. And obviously, a lot of people love playing the offensive zone, but there's two sides to the offensive zone, believe it or not. There's the offense, and then there's the offensive defensive side of the offensive zone, the defensive side of the offensive zone, which is, whatever.
Yeah, we'll
It's
we'll
something,
get
yeah.
into that. So two thoughts on that. First, I'm noticing this now too. Coaching is I find the teaching of offensive zone play to be exactly what you said. It's like I constantly find myself saying to guys like you have to be able to make a play. Like you have to see what's there. The only thing I can do is give you like loose structure. Like a couple rules of thumb that come to mind are depending on the forecheck stuff you do is the F3 high thing is pretty standard in terms of a structure and trying to create 2-on-1s or outman people if you call that a structure. And then outside of that, it's you need to be able to make plays. I can speak for even at very like high levels of hockey, there's not a ton of set plays that you're running. Where in the defensive zone, there are set plays that you can run. There are set things that you're doing where it's like when this happens, this happens. When this happens, this happens. And in the offensive zone, there isn't a ton of that. There are some exceptions, obviously, where you run certain plays, but there's not a ton of this is our play in the neutral zone. It's more like these are the options that could be available, and then you guys have to decide and play the game now. So I think that that's the same. The only thing that um, I'll say about younger kids, but even kids as they get up into junior, is they have a hard time, from what I can tell, is identifying where a high percentage zone is that they could score from. So a lot of times we talk about on the defensive side, like the house area or inside the dots, whatever. And I've noticed that kids don't realize when they're in good positions where they have an opportunity and they don't see that it is an opportunity. So identifying those areas of the ice where if you get the puck to the net, there's a good chance something good will happen, or you'll get some chaos or some momentum. I've noticed that, and I've noticed I don't know if it's a flaw necessarily, but a lot of times players feel like they have to get super close to the goalie to score. So there's always you hear coaches say this all the time. We're making the extra move, or we're trying to force plays, or whatever coaching cue you can think of in those situations. And I find kids younger even more, but even older, like with even up to U18s and into junior, guys feel like they have to make the extra move right into the crease to make a deke on the goalie and score. And that's only one way to score, and it's a low percentage way to score. So if you can start to identify some of these other ways of scoring goals that isn't just I have to carry the puck through, get as close to the goalie as possible to get a goal, that's a very common mindset that I've noticed for higher skilled players even. Because they have the skill to be able to get around guys and maybe burn guys or get it to the net hard, they feel like that's what they have to do.
Also,
You
to
know,
add to that, and that's a very good point that you made, because as you were talking, I think another philosophy is guys don't shoot enough, and they shoot to score too much, and that might sound like a weird thing to say, but as to your point, is they is plays should be made out high if you can to get guys moving and goalie moving early, and if you screw up, you're not on top of the goalie. But um, I think another thing with that is a lot of kids that there's a couple things here. Some guys don't shoot because they think in their head that they're being selfish. So if it's a 2-on-1, and you'll see a guy creep in, it's like they're looking. They know they should shoot, but they know they got a goal score or whatever, and they're thinking, should I shoot? Should I pass? Should I need to pass it? I'll look like a pug hog, and then the next thing you know, they run out of real estate or whatever, or maybe they shoot and it's like a little bit late. And then you have other guys that are maybe a little bit insecure about their shooting, not because they can't shoot, but because they like I'm talking higher levels now, where their ice, let's say their ice is limited, or they're put in situations where they've got a 40 goal scorer on their left side, and they come in on a 2-on-1, and if anyone's going to score, who probably will if you got a 40 goal scorer on your right, if you right like Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky when they're coming on that 3-on-2 in the Canada Cup in 1987. Larry Murphy went to the net knowing there's no chance he's getting the puck. Gretzky, in his head, knew he was giving it to Lemieux. But like if something changed, I mean, they're the smartest players in the world. But so he's thinking, okay, I got the best goal scorer in the world. He's getting the puck. It's just a matter of when. So like you just change that to a kid like that's maybe playing junior. He's on a 2-on-1 and he's got a 40 goal score and he's sitting there going, if I shoot and don't score, like it goes, you don't have an hour to think about this, but you're thinking, okay, this guy, I got to get it to him, got to get it to him. And the next thing you know, it's the last minute play. So like there's a different mindsets that go into this as well. And so like in different zones. That's why you have like different phrases that actually make sense, right? You don't play with the puck at the blue lines. If you want to win, dump it in. If you want it out, dump it out. Like off the glass and out. Like all these different things. When in doubt, shoot. These are cliche sayings for a reason because they actually
Yeah.
are truisms.
Yeah, for sure.
If a truism is
Nice.
a
Good
word,
word. Good
right?
word.
So,
I,
anyways,
I think the same thing, and I'm noticing that with guys. I make it a point to say this to guys a lot. Is I'll never be upset as a coach with you trying to make a play. If you try to, even if you try to go toe drag a guy and they stop you and whatever, unless you're doing a repeated mistake in a bad area, that's where I'll start to get upset after a while. But if you're in the corner and there was a guy open and instead you tried to go around, like I'm not going to be mad at you for trying to go around a guy or make a move or whatever. And same thing if you're on a play where you keep passing it when you could have shot, like I'm not going to be mad at you for doing that. But to be a good player, you have to be able to identify when to hold the puck, when to shoot the puck, when I'm in a good area where if I shoot, I could score. Like we were just talking about, I saw a clip right before we started recording of Brett Hull in playing in one of the All-Star games like way back, and what a release on this guy. And this exact video that I watched, the shot that he got off actually wasn't a good shot, but he got it off so quick and he was in a good area that the goalie just couldn't find it, and it ended up going like through his arm into the net or whatever. And it wasn't he made two dangles and then ripped it bar down. He identified, and he was one of the best at this, identified that he's in a good area of the ice, separated himself from a defender, and he's like, he knows in his head, if I get the puck in this area, it's on and off my stick right away. And how many goals did he get like that? And those are things that I'm finding are missing. I think guys, because of the skill game that is now super popular, we touched on this a bit last episode on how everyone wants to do the silky stuff. That's all fine when it's appropriate, but it's overdone in the offensive zone a lot from what I see, particularly youth hockey, even into junior hockey. Everyone feels like they have to make the extra move or get it a little bit closer or whatever. When if you're inside the house or you're inside the dots, even as a defenseman from the point, you're in a good spot to get the puck to the net. Like these are high percentage plays, and that is something that is not identified very well in the offensive zone. So that's kind of my only 2 cents that I'll add on that stuff from the offensive zone perspective.